The HP Outdoors Waterfowl podcast is fueled by Eukanuba. If you want to get the most of your dog in your training sessions, you need nutrition that holds nothing back. Eukanuba's new premium performance lineup is built with the nutrients dogs need to help unleash their max potential. That starts with providing energy that matches their efforts, supporting optimal nutrient delivery, and supporting post-exercise recovery. Check out the new Eukanuba Premium Performance lineup and find your dog's fuel at eukanubasportingdogs.com. You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. SoundGear is offering a 35% discount to the HP Outdoors listeners for their instant fit industrial and shooter products. You can head over to soundgearhearing.com and use the promo code HPO35 to claim your discount today. Lifetime Decoy's new Flex Float Mallard decoys set the new standard for quality and durability in waterfowl decoys. An EVA foam, open bottom construction combined with patent-pended dual flow swim keel system allows for more movement and less wind, the ability to sit flat on ice and dirt, and virtually indestructible design which can be shot or otherwise punctured and still float. Each decoy weighs only 11 ounces with the self-righting keel weights removed or 19 ounces with the weights installed. Check them out today at lifetimedecoys.com. Welcome back to the HP Outdoors Foundation of Waterfowl Hunting course. This is Module 1, Lesson 1, Waterfowl Hunting Seasons. The waterfowl hunting seasons are regulated by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in cooperation with representatives from each state, and it differs across the country in all of the states. So the United States, it's broken up into 4 major flyways: the Pacific Flyway, the Central Flyway, the Mississippi Flyway, and the Atlantic Flyway. So all 4 flyways will vary slightly in certain forms and fashions, but that framework is all set in cooperation through different states and in cooperation with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Annual hunting seasons are based on prior year's population and harvest data. So when you are buying your license and they ask you the questions of how many you harvested, et cetera, that is important information that you give. And also population estimates when they do flyover and do, nest checks and stuff like that, and come up with numbers that everyone seems to either get really excited about or question depending on where they're at. And, we see that every year when they come out, and it's always a very big social media explosion when people start talking about that. All flyways are given pretty much the same overall season framework. Typically, you see seasons start to open in September, and you'll see duck seasons go out in January. Usually goose season ends up a little later into mid to end February.
Yeah, and that's going to be for your dark geese, right? Because obviously there's snow geese that are hunted well into the spring and things like that. Yep. So, it's a little different by each species and things like that. So it's important to understand the bird that you're targeting and what that season might look like for you. Season lengths will definitely vary, and bag limits will also vary between the different flyways due to a variety of things, to include migration patterns, hunter numbers, pressure, and just the waterfowl abundance, the resource itself in that particular area. Generally, it'll be more liberal in your Pacific and Central flyways. And also what's interesting to note about waterfowl hunting seasons is that because it's a federally managed resource, Canada and Mexico are also have their seasons set by the Migratory Bird Treaty Act of 1918. Also, you'll hear it referred as the MBTA mandate. So there is a relationship between Canada, the United States, and Mexico when it comes to managing the waterfowl resource.
Yep. And, even when we're talking about different flyways having different kind of different framework, but even, the states vary in those flyways. So, you being in Virginia, me being in Pennsylvania, and, you get well into January on your duck season, and we might get January 1st, but usually out in December. But zones and splits are used to distribute hunting opportunities. Pennsylvania, for example, I think we have 5 different zones, and they split them up differently and in different seasons. So definitely stuff to look out for. Also, season frameworks. When you're talking like Atlantic, Mississippi flyways, you're in 60-day duck season, where if you're out in the Pacific, you might have 107 days. So depending where you're at, you want to make sure how long your season is and make sure you're under those regulations.
Yeah, I think a good point to make about that is the states are given a framework and they can choose to be more restrictive with their season dates, but they do not permit them to be more liberal than that federal framework. So just because your state, as an example, is in a flyway that has a 107-day allotment, your particular state may choose to not allow 107 days of hunting, or they may break it up differently than another state within the same flyway. As we've already mentioned, duck and goose seasons will often vary slightly, depending on the subspecies, even more so. And another thing to keep in mind is that some states still do not permit Sunday hunting for waterfowl. While that number of states has greatly dropped and there are more opportunities available on Sundays, as of the date of this recording, it is not a 100% accepted thing around the country to allow Sunday hunting. So just certainly be aware that this, what the regulation is on Sunday hunting in your state, should you, have some sort of restriction on that. So that's going to do it for the hunting waterfowl, the waterfowl hunting seasons lesson. Now we're going to go to lesson 2, which we will talk about license requirements. That's going to do it for this episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. If you're new to the show, head over to iTunes, check out some of our past episodes, and while you're there, leave us a 5-star rating and review. It's the best way for like-minded hunters just like you to find our show. Check us out on social media, check us out over at hpoutdoors.com, and anywhere you can find quality podcast content. That's going to do it for this week. Till next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.